All right, so I have 5 containers in this 4x4 grow tent, and they are reused soil. This is the same soil that I've been using for, if I remember correctly, it's the 6th run using this soil. These containers are 10-gallon living soil fabric pots by Grassroots Fabric Pots. And you can see I've actually put a 1-gallon container in the center of it, surrounded it with soil, and then I put the cover crop on top of that. We're gonna be talking about cover crops in this video, but I wanted to mention the reasoning why I have a 1-gallon container in there. It's for easy transplanting. So I have other plants in the 4x8 grow tent, which I'll show you here in a few minutes, that is actually going to grow up and then be transplanted into these containers. But first, I am growing these cover crops. Now, I know there is some debate on whether or not cover crops should be used indoors or not. I am using them indoors. I know there are a lot more benefits using cover crops outdoors, which we'll go over. But indoors, there's definitely still benefits that you can get out of using cover crops. Before we get deep into cover crops, like I mentioned, this is the reused soil, and some of you might remember from past videos that it had a ton of fungus gnats in it. Well, after I harvested those plants, I treated the soil. There's actually 0 fungus gnats left. So super, super happy that they are finally gone. It seemed really, really bad there, especially towards later flowering is really when it got kind of bad. There was a lot of them on those yellow stickies. Here, these containers have been in this grow tent for about a week and a half, 2 weeks now, and there are 0 fungus gnats on those yellow stickies. So really happy that the treatment of the soil worked. Basically, it's a combination of drying out the soil a little bit. The mosquito bits finally kicked in with the BT, helps with the larvae. And that's pretty much all I did. I didn't really spray or anything like that. Just the drying out and introducing BT really got rid of all the fungus gnats. So super happy on that one. The cover crop is starting to come in right now. I'm using the 12 seed blend from Build a Soil. And I do have some notes here. I don't have them all memorized which ones are in this blend or not. So I figured I'd mention them here so you guys are aware, because each type has its own individual benefits. So starting off with flax. Flax is one of the things that's going to improve soil structure. And the reason why it improves soil structure is because those roots get down into the soil and prevents compaction. And also it enhances the aeration. Weed suppression, it's really good at suppressing weeds. Now that's a benefit that's really for outdoors, and that's one of the arguments from outdoor growers is like, hey, this is gonna be more beneficial outdoors. I don't have any weed seeds in this soil. It's soil I've been using for a while now, so weeds aren't really a concern in these particular containers. But outdoors, it's certainly beneficial from a weed suppression standpoint. Nutrient recycling is another benefit. So once a cover crop grows up, dies off, either do a chop and drop or whatever, it's gonna provide nutrients within the soil. Next up, we have clover. So there are actually 4 different species of clover. We've got a yellow, white Dutch, medium red, and crimson. One of the things about clover is nitrogen fixation. So it's actually going to take nitrogen from the air and turn it into a form that's usable for the plant's to uptake. Clover is actually going to need to die off first before that nitrogen is actually released into the soil. So that's one thing to keep in mind, that as the clover is growing, it's not like it's immediately making that nitrogen available. It's got to die off before it makes it available for the plant to uptake. Clover is also good at weed suppression, and it's also good at soil erosion, preventing soil erosion from happening. Another outdoor benefit, really. There's also lentils in here. There's Indian head. That's also good for nitrogen fixation, like I just talked about. It also improves soil structure and adds organic matter into the medium. Again, once it's growing up, dying off, that die off right there, that organic matter will eventually break down and be nutrients for the plant uptake. Millet white proso, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. That's good for weed suppression, soil erosion prevention, like I talked about before. And also, this is a little bit unique when it comes to drought tolerance. So this is good for if you are in an environment that doesn't receive as much water, for example. Vetch, there's hairy vetch and there's also common vetch. Erosion control, improved soil structure. You're seeing a theme here. A lot of these provide the same benefits, but this is another one that's also good for nitrogen fixation, like I talked about before. Grabbing nitrogen from the air, converting it, turning it into a form that the plant can uptake. Very beneficial. Cowpeas, red ripper, nitrogen fixation, drought tolerance, weed suppression. Buckwheat, mancan is in here. Weed suppression, Phosphorus mobilization is kind of a unique benefit of this. It's actually going to grab the phosphorus out of the medium and make it more available for the plant. Also, buckwheat attracts pollinators as well, another outdoor benefit. Again, we're going back to the folks saying this is mostly for outdoors, cover crops should be outdoor only. These are reasons why there's a lot of outdoor benefits. It's going to attract pollinators like bees. It's going to attract predatory insects such as lacewings, hoverflies, ladybugs, parasitic wasps. So having those beneficial insects, obviously very, very good to have around, especially when you're growing outdoors. And lastly, peas, forage, that's also good for nitrogen fixation, soil structure improvement, cold tolerance. So it's good for planting such as like fall or early spring when it's cold, while other cover crops aren't able to kind of germinate at that time. Peas are able to germinate and it provides those benefits like I mentioned. So yeah, the cover crops coming in good so far. I've been actually spraying the top of the medium here in order to kind of keep it moist, to try to get more of these seeds to germinate and sprout up. So I'm going to do that right now. Light levels are the last thing I want to talk about. There's really not much light being shined down. I did measure it with my par meter, about 100 ppfd, so it's really nothing. It's just the cover crop that's in here now. Once I get cannabis plants in here, I'll increase the light levels. All right, that's pretty much all I have to do in this tent. We're just gonna continue to wait and let this cover crop continue to grow. The plants that I'm about to show you has got a little more time in that veg tent, a little bit more time before I need to transplant out of the containers they're in into this. So by that time, it should be really nice, really well grown in at that point. Let's go into the 4x8 grow tent and I'll show you what plants are going to be going into these containers. Let's go over the conditions first before I open up the grow tent and throw off the conditions. We're at 79 degrees Fahrenheit, 77% relative humidity. That's at a 0.77 kPa. I typically aim for 0.8 to 1.1, sometimes 1.2 kPa is typically what I'm aiming for in the vegetation stage. And then for CO2, that's on here now that I have a CO2 sensor plugged into this, 871 ppm, which is elevated. That's a good thing. And the crazy thing is I'm not supplementing CO2. The only CO2 that these plants are getting are passive intake. Anytime the inline fan comes on, it'll bring in the fresh air from my house, and it's really just me exhaling. It's the CO2 that I'm exhaling, my fiance is exhaling, my cat's exhaling, my daughter's exhaling. All of that is being brought into the grow tent. So I used to supplement CO2, but kind of stopped doing it just because I'm okay with these levels. Let's get into the grow tent and let's look at the plants. Okay, so here are the plants that I have. The ones in the 1 gallon containers, these are the ones that are gonna be transplanted into the other containers I just showed you that have the cover crops. The ones that are in these larger containers, a little bit larger, it's a 2 gallon containers. These ones are gonna actually be hooked up to a blue mat system and be fed synthetic nutrients. So these ones are organic inputs that are gonna be transferred into the other containers like I mentioned, and then I'm also be growing synthetically. We have the deep water culture one. You guys, some of you have been following this along on this one. I have an update coming on that next week, so stay tuned for that. We'll talk about this one in detail. But as you can see, spoiler alert, it's looking a lot better than it did before. So let's talk about what genetics I am going to be growing. So I just want to reveal it. I won't get too deep into it, but I had a lot of people respond with a lot of suggestions on what I should grow in a past video. And I want to thank you for your suggestions there. They've been very, very helpful. And I've narrowed it down to these ones. It was such a tough decision. I'm limited in a plant count to how many I can grow, and I had so many different genetics. So this is what I chose here. Start off with a Pungent Punch crossed with Chilled OG. This is by Shadowborn Genetics. So big shout out to him. He used my Chilled OG as a cross. He crossed it with Pungent Punch. It looked absolutely beautiful, the pictures he sent me. So I'm really, really excited to see how this one comes out. I'm not sure about the taste and smell or anything like that. I don't remember what he said about those ones, but as far as looks, 10 out of 10. Black Sugar 2.0 by Seedsman. This one is actually coming out with a weird mutation, weird funky growth. I've had this type of growth happen before in a handful of plants over the years. Probably, at least 6 up to 12 plants I've had look like this before. And I've killed off these plants before. Also, I've let them grow out before. oftentimes it actually grows out of this funkiness that it's going through. I remember one plant in particular, snake venom. That one I grew, it looked like this to begin, it was real funky, but the flowers on it, once it grew out of it, the flowers on it were incredible, covered with trichomes, amazing effects. So I'm gonna let this continue to grow and see what happens with it. If it dies off, fine, but who knows? That could rebound and become the best looking plant out of all of them potentially. So it is a possibility, believe it or not. Guava root GMO by Seedsman. This one's looking pretty good. All of these kind of sprouted at different times. We have some that, I believe this is on day 10, for example. This is the biggest one out of them all. And I believe these ones are on day like 5 or 6. That one actually might be on 5 or 4. So all different timings, so there's a little bit different growth on them. Next up, we have Chill Out OG F4. So planting the F4s. You saw in a recent harvest video that I had pollinated F3s and got F4s. So here's one that's growing right now. I can't wait to see how this one turns out. We have Ice Cream Cake Fast. This one's also by Seedsman. Jealousy Fast by Seedsman. These ones looking pretty good. And this one hasn't sprouted yet, but I'm really trying to get this thing to sprout. I've got this plastic over it just to kind of increase the humidity underneath it and make sure that the soil doesn't dry out. When you're planting seeds, if the soil dries out, there's no moisture there, it won't germinate. So this is a little trick that a lot of people do in order to try to keep the soil moist. Not seeing any activity down there just yet, but this is Lunar Skunk by Luna Seeds. So shout out to Luna Whipcomb. She is the breeder of that. Super excited to grow out her genetics. As far as the moisture level in the medium, just lifting up, you can totally see that there's more moisture still in there. There's plenty of moisture. Although the top of the medium is getting dry, and sometimes I do like to come in here and just do a very light spray of the top of the medium. Nothing real crazy, just kind of keeping it moist. I don't want to risk any overwatering happening. So super light, nothing crazy. This is where a lot of newer growers get in hot water, is they'll see the top of the mediums dry. They'll think they need to do a full watering and then they'll overwater their plants. But if you got some experience, you can actually determine when you can do just a little bit spray on the top and it seeps down just a little bit and it just doesn't dry out completely as fast. So I like to hit it with a little bit of spray every day or so. I'll hit it with just a light spray on top just to keep it moving there. So that's all I got for this tent. Let's go into my other tent, 2x4 tent. I've got a few other plants growing in there and let's take a look. So I have a few other plants growing in this 2x4 grow tent that's not cannabis that I figured I'd show because I do grow other plants. I grow veggies. I'm actually in the process of redoing my backyard where I have a couple raised beds, and also I'm gonna be planting a whole bunch of different trees in there in the future. But I figured I'd start to show a little bit of this stuff on this channel and see if any of you like this. So if you wanna see vegetable updates in the future, smash that thumbs up and let me know in the comment section, because that's really gonna help determine whether or not I should show this stuff in the future. So I just wanna show this real quick, what I've been planting. Some of it has germinated, some of it has not. These first two here are peppers. We've got a jalapeno pepper and a bow-nosed pepper. These have not germinated yet. They haven't sprouted from the medium yet. They take a little bit longer than some of these other things I have over here. So lettuce, we've got a butter crunch lettuce. Kind of see, we've got a couple of them. I planted 2 seeds in there. Basically what I'll do is what's called thinning out. I'll let these grow for a little bit. I'll see which one dominates, and then I'll kill off the other one. In this one, I have spinach. Bloomsdale Longstanding is what this is. I put 4 in here just to see how it's gonna work. Hasn't germinated yet. Kale, blue curled Scotch. I put 2 in there. They both germinated. We'll see which one dominates and I'll thin it out. And then we've got a purple lady bok choy. 2 of them sprouted. One looks to be growing longer than the other. I'll wait a few and then I'll thin that one out as well. I've actually grown all of these before. Well, actually the jalapenos I haven't grown. All the other ones I have grown before in the past. I've just been kind of shy and not really showing this stuff. I actually did show it on videos in the past, but since then I've kind of been shying away from it just because I don't know if you guys want to see this type of content. It's something I'm really enjoying. And so if you vibe with it, let me know in the comments. And yeah, we'll leave it at that. That's all I wanted to cover in this video. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out, everyone.